In our latest episode, we get to enjoy Midsummer in Sweden before an impromptu visit to the chateau sees us make a few more dents in the wine vats. On return to the UK, and as temperatures soar, we get to cat sit at a friend's in Essex and go on a farewell tour to friends and family as we prepare for the big move to France. And amongst all the farewells, we get to say hello to a little someone. We were approaching the end of June, and that could only mean one thing to a Swede, which is the Swedish Midsummer celebrations. However, our neatly laid plans didn't go quite as we had hoped when we got caught up in the Terminal 2 fiasco with luggage going missing. So when we turned up at Stockholm Airport, we literally had just the clothes on our back and a few things that we managed to stuff into our rucksack. However, we'd soon forgotten about that as we arrived onto the Swedish archipelago where Nicole's parents' summer house is based. We spent the first few days just immersing ourselves in nature. We have our favourite squirrel, Stu. He seems to make an appearance every other year. It may not be Stu each time, of course, but we have ceremonially named him Stu. And got to know the other local wildlife. But it wasn't long until the familia joined us for the Midsummer celebrations. And the champagne was out. And lots of effort going into producing the most beautiful Midsummer cocker. And as we do every year, the islanders all get together by the sea and dance around the maypole, I guess, and sing songs and play games. It's a really special tradition which I've been very privileged to be a part of. And yes, there is also the obligatory gig in the Baltic Sea, which is, even in June, pretty refreshing. How is it? With the celebrations over, we were heading back to London and we were reunited with our bags at the airport, thankfully. Although not a huge amount of help to us for our time in Sweden. But back in London, started some of our farewells already. So I caught up with my friend Adam, the ultra-marathon runner, just to see the sheer size of his medal for completing that 3 Peaks Ultra Challenge. And then our really good friends Lindsay and Riaz as well, to reminisce about old times. And then with temperatures soaring in London, we were actually gifted the opportunity to cat sit and house sit for our friends in Essex. And so after having a little celebration with them, we were left to our own devices to enjoy the beautiful Essex countryside, away from the hustle and bustle of London. And there's some pretty good service, actually. I can't complain.
So I also got us some.
And then one extra amazing thing: I managed to pass my driving test. Who knew? Better late than never, as they say.
Go, go, go! Woo! Doing. Congratulations!
And from there, we were off to the chateau. And this was a really impromptu trip that we hadn't necessarily planned. But we were really keen to make some progress. And one of the first things we wanted to do was meet up with our menuisier, a window maker, who wanted to share with us colours and take us around some of his construction sites where he's been installing windows. We weren't overly impressed with the stuff that he'd done, but we knew that he could. We had faith that he could produce what we wanted. He just hadn't quite fathomed the quality that we were after. So he was a bit too on the modern side, and we were really keen to stick with a style that complemented the chateau, I think, which is something that the French aren't particularly used to. And so we had to try really hard to explain to him exactly what we wanted, but we did invariably get there. And as you will see in future vlogs, we believe that the finished result was pretty spectacular. So it was definitely worth the effort. But in order to do that, we had to kind of go on a bit of a fact-finding hunt to find out what kind of windows we actually really liked. Of course, partly based on the ones that were already in the chateau, but also seeing what had been done more recently in not dissimilar types of buildings. And there's the Palais des Évêques in Issac, which had its windows redone, albeit in wood, and we were going for aluminium. We really liked that style. And so we got him to go and visit the same place. And in fact, the mayor allowed us to go inside to have a look at the internal mechanisms and things, which is really, really helpful as well. So very grateful to the mayor of Issac for allowing us to take a peek into what is normally a private area, which was still under construction at the time, in fact. And of course, yes, we did enjoy some lovely meals out. We were still pretty flush with cash at that point because Nicole was still gainfully employed and hadn't joined my consultancy at that point. So we were still feeling good about finances. And then, well, we couldn't really go to the chateau and not do some DIY. And let's face it, those wine vats weren't going to demolish themselves. So I got to work again, attacking the roofs of the wine vats from the floor above. And then I also managed to take down a pretty major chunk of one of the vats downstairs, which I was really proud of.
Feels good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We were staying in this beautiful little manoir. The owners are lovely, and it was super cheap. We actually told them, you need to put your prices up, which may sound counterintuitive, but it was so ridiculously cheap. We're like, are you sure this is okay? And it was a lovely room, and they'd done it all up, and we got a little bit of time to relax in amongst it all, which was lovely. And then headed again back to the UK, back to Essex, to keep on with our house sitting and cat sitting duties, where we invited our friends Lindsay and Riaz out for a beautiful lunch, where we found out that Nicole was pregnant and expecting to eventually become baby Noah, which was really exciting. We were then back to London and torrential rain, so a bit of a rude awakening. But it was quite fun because the Chateau DIY show was just releasing the latest series. And it was so weird to see ourselves on TV, but impressed with Nicole's demolition work on that chimney. We then went on a bit of a tour to see and say farewell to friends and family. So we were down in Kent to see my parents and godparents and sister. Wow. We were in London saying farewell to our really close friends there. We headed up to Woodstock to see our friends there too. We made the most of being in Woodstock to go and visit Oxford as well for the day, because Nicole had never seen Oxford before. And I was like, you can't have lived in the UK for 10 years and not have seen Oxford. So we went on a beautiful kind of day-long tour, and the weather was beautiful, so it worked out really, really well. Kind of meandering around all the colleges and then through the lovely parks as well. So time really well spent. And then back in London, we were pretty much there. It was I don't know how, but the time had come around so quickly, but it was our last day before we were moving to France.
Morning.
Morning, yeah, so final morning walk.
No.
How are you feeling about that?
It was really strange and I can't really wrap my head around it. But enjoying it, and we've got nice weather in this place.
Yeah, it stayed dry after the torrential rain yesterday. And so we went on what had become our habitual walk in the mornings. We'd get up really early, 6:30, head out the door and go for a 90-minute walk through Greenwich Park up to Blackheath, past Grumpy Cat, as he became known, and also for kind of coffee and possibly a croissant when we were missing France at the Gales Bakery in Blackheath. And then that was it. But there was one last thing we did get to do before we left, and that was to go for a scan to see how Noah was doing. And this is what he looked like.